Thank you very much for having me on. I'm Martin Lowe from the Asian Game, a freelance Asian football journalist.
So, how is this World Cup being anticipated by the Saudi supporters that you've been in contact with?
I think there's an excitement still. I think any football nation, which I think Saudi Arabia is probably an unknown football nation, but if you're on the ground there, it's a passionate country, passionate about its football, with the same ups and downs around expectations, etc. So I think when you get to a World Cup, most nations put aside any kind of concerns they have, and are quite optimistic about it. That said, I think there's a lot of concern about the state of the national team. We've seen growth over Saudi football for the last few years, and unfortunately, at this time, the domestic talent probably hasn't come through yet. So probably they're going into it excited that they're still at a World Cup. This is the third one in a row, but probably not holding out much hope in terms of actually advancing or actually exceeding any expectations at this stage.
So, I had bad luck interacting with Saudi media this go around, but I'm hoping that maybe someone who's ingrained in Asian football has better luck in maybe explaining the Saudi media perspective that's out there.
Yeah, no, I think the Saudi media perspective is similar. I think there's a lot of control over the narrative in terms of projecting a positive image of Saudi football, and I think that's the growth of the domestic game and the Saudi Pro League versus what the national team would potentially look. But there are dissenting voices around, is this the right approach? I think in terms of the big money and the big name signings that have come in have really put the Saudi football on the map, and they've seen that progress in terms of on a continental stage. But is it the right element to kind of bring through the talent that's needed? And I think you've seen that in terms of between the last three World Cups that they've qualified for, it's starting to not really get any kind of momentum behind it, and you've seen that in terms of chopping and changing the managers, etc. So I think the media are ready to be dissecting, and I think there will be a significant fallout if we don't see some glimmers of green shoots from it. But unfortunately, I think we're going into it with low expectations on that respect.
What would you say is the status of Saudi football domestically at this point? Obviously, there's been for the last 5, 6, 7 years, people go into the Saudi league. How would you say is the overall health of that project?
I think domestically, I think that the product is very healthy. You still have that real excitement of bringing the best footballers in the world to your region, and we're only 3 years post Ronaldo's big signing in January
It's only been 3 years.
2023, January 2023, he came across.
Wow, it feels longer than that.
Yeah, there were other signs before him, but I think he was the one that started to go, well, actually, this is a credible project, and we're going to actually move this kind of forward. And you've seen the standards have improved. The Pro League itself is an entertaining spectacle. It's probably competing up there with the top 5 or 6 domestic leagues in Europe. But the significant reason for that is that you've got a lot of international talent in there, and you've got an expansion of foreign quota numbers where local Saudi players become fringe players, especially for those big clubs. So the big four in Saudi Arabia kind of dominate all of the kind of the talent coming through, and that's where the PIF's kind of money goes through that. I think the hope was that national team players would kind of the talent would rub off on them, and we've seen that in glimmers of opportunities. So Saud Abdul Hamid is probably the standout player. He's the right back who's playing at Lens at the moment, and they've just got qualification for the Champions League. He's a standout in terms of a talented player going abroad to Europe and actually standing out. But he's the exception rather than the rule, and we haven't seen that kind of happen ever since. And even in the domestic league, there's only a couple of players that really kind of stand out through that. I think any expansion of foreign quota really has a significant impact on 2 key areas of the pitch. One being goalkeeper. That's the usual thing, especially from an Asian perspective. They usually go for an international keeper to kind of to reinforce that respect. That means the two players vying for the number 1 jersey for Saudi Arabia. One of them, Nawaf Al Akidi, who's kind of seen as the upcoming star. He's now 25. he hasn't played domestic football since January because he's playing back up to Beto, who's the Brazilian at Al Nassr. The second element is Mohamed Awais, who's been in the national team squad for 10, 15 years now. He's playing in second tier football because he can't get those opportunities in the Saudi Arabian League. So one end of the pitch, you haven't got a goalkeeper who's either got who's got experience but not playing at a high level, or just not playing at all. That's not ideal. And in attack, this is the real kind of crux, and it's something that I think Hervé Renard's mentioned on a number of occasions. Every team up and down the league has an international star striker, and it's very hard to get that kind of exposure to a player within the Saudi national team. Out of the top 25 players for goal involvements this year, how many do you think are Saudi Arabian?
Because you're asking the question, I'm going to say 0.
1.
Okay.
And it was about 20th. So it's the only player that was in that top 25 is a young player. Well, I say a young player. Again, he's getting up to that kind of mid-20s. Is Khalid Al-Ghanam, a player who's tried it at the big clubs and just not been able to kind of cut through. So had to go to work on a mid-table team to actually start clicking together. But when you've got that kind of coming into a World Cup, given the size of the league and the league's actually improving, the issue is the players that you're putting out there are either not in good form or just not getting the right sort of minutes needed. So there needs to be a focus around that evolution of transfer policy. And I think on a domestic level, there's a real significant move away from the Ronaldos of this world, the old style player that maybe MLS have always kind of tried to kind of compete with from that respect, to actually focus on who are the most young up and coming players in Europe, bring them across maybe for a smaller fee, 20, 30 million across from that, and build it alongside our young Saudi players. So they're at the same level in that kind of development. And we'll kind of see how that kind of materializes over the coming years, especially with PIF's kind of evolving kind of spending plans in that area.
I'm going to collapse the next two questions together. What was the qualification for Saudi Arabia like? And why is Hervé Renard gone?
My answers to the first will probably make sense for the second one. It's difficult. It was a difficult qualification campaign. Many people have either they love or hate the expansion of the World Cup. Saudi Arabia will love it because otherwise they wouldn't have got here. This is the third time they've qualified, but they wouldn't have got anywhere near it if the top 6 had gone through as normal from Asia. They scored fewer than they've ever done before, and I think that's kind of a symptom of what I've mentioned about that kind of games side of things. So over 18 games, they scored half of what they did when they got on the road for Russia. And even when they were given that opportunity, because the ludicrous nature of the expansion of the World Cup, the vast majority, Asia have got 9 nations, and I'm kind of introverted and wanting to champion Asian football, but it's getting to a stage where you're giving most people a ticket through to the World Cup. Even in that, they could have thrown it away and really needed the AFC to bail them out by giving them hosting of the final round of World Cup qualification, which didn't go down well at all. So they only scraped across the line. And they went through 2 coaches through that. Started with Roberto Mancini. He never really seemed to fit. He never seemed to kind of get the gauge of it, and that's not necessarily it. Managing in Asia, because he's gone on to do really well at Al Sadd in Qatar, but he just never really kind of clicked, and it was always on a kind of a hide into nothing. The bring back, the return of Hervé Renard was kind of seen as this kind of golden idol aspect. I suppose the lion's mane that he kind of projects on this kind of an international scale. He was able to mastermind those successes in 2018 and over to 2022, especially that victory against Argentina. And it was hoped that he would just be able to kind of click back in and it would start again after being 2 years away from the job. And it just didn't happen. It's a difficult place. It's probably more difficult than when he started from, because you have higher expectation and probably you have less issues in terms of kind of getting it out there in front of the public. But the issues become in terms of getting those players with quality minutes and being able to kind of support that kind of development through. And another kind of criticism of kind of Saudi football, I suppose, or younger Saudi players coming through, is you've got so much money going around the game. There's so much exposure. There's a lot of players who are 19, 20 who are coming through. They think they've made it. They're playing alongside Ronaldo in the same squad. they're probably not getting any minutes, but they're playing against these kind of bigger players. There isn't that development piece, and the domestic game hasn't gone through that slow development. It's always been big bang, we're into this. And I think that it's masked a little bit when you watch Saudi football, because you've got 9, 10 players of each team who are international stars, but those domestic players just aren't coming through. And you see that every World Cup squad or every qualification squad was always quite different in terms of kind of jolting back and forth. There wasn't really a kind of structured play. So that has led to kind of Hervé Renard more out of frustration. And I think it wasn't necessarily a big surprise, but it was kind of muted for quite a while up to it. To real move to a new coach, or a new coach probably for some people across the world, Georges Donis. He used to play football in England, so he's had that kind of European experience. But where the focus of what they're hoping to bring from him is his understanding of Saudi domestic football, and crucially, to be honest, in the mid-table of Saudi Arabian football. So he was manager of Al Khalij, who are kind of just a mid-table team, but a team that promised by necessity had to rely a bit more on Saudi players. They're hoping his experience and knowledge of those individuals can actually start to move that forward. And I think hopefully there's probably, as I say, expectations are modest at this moment in time. But if you can bring somebody in who can tie together that underdog spirit, the same as way as Hervé Renard did in 2018, that's the only kind of glimmer of hope that I've got going into the World Cup to maybe surprise someone along the way, I suppose.
So let's dig deeper into the squad. What materials is he working with?
I think the kind of the formations of it are those same players that have been here over that kind of period. So I think the key player for it is Salam Al-Dosari, who's probably the most recognisable Saudi player on an international stage. He's going to go down as a living legend, and I think he's tied at the moment for the amount of goals at a World Cup from anybody else in the Saudi perspective. And he continues to be probably the only player that can really compete in that top 4 teams on a national stage and an international stage. He's also intrinsically linked with World Cup. So he scored the first goal, the first victory when they came back against Egypt. His missed penalty against Poland will live long in the memory in terms of being able to that progression. And while we're on it, I think his penalty record is one thing to kind of look out for as a kind of a startling point. He missed 3 penalties in the qualification campaign, and he continues to miss penalties for Al Hilal and for Saudi Arabia. So I think as long as he's away from the penalty shootout, that's the main thing.
Why is he still taking them?
It's the influence and the aura of Al-Dosari as the captain that kind of great. And I think anytime it comes up to a penalty, you look around the team and go, well, yeah, probably Al-Dosari is probably the best person to take this penalty. Fortunately, in the round 4 victory against Indonesia, somebody else took it, Firas Al-Baukran. So hopefully they've learned their lesson going forward. But in a big stage like the World Cup, I wouldn't be surprised if they threw the ball back to Salam to kind of take those penalties. His form, given that he's kind of getting into mid-30s now, is slowing down, but he still has that little bit of quality that I don't think any real kind of attacking players potentially have.
Let's talk floor, then let's talk ceiling. How good could this World Cup be for Saudi Arabia, and how bad could it be?
We'll start with the bad first. And I think the last 2 World Cups, I think 2018 was a shock. So on 2018, you played the hosts first game. Russia lost 5-0. Real kind of catastrophe from that respect. And then they started building up on the final 2 games and got that first win against Egypt. 2022 was completely the opposite. You joined the World Cup and beat Lionel Messi's Argentina that end up to go on to the World Cup. So complete different change. And then the wheels fell off in terms of the rest of the world. If we could have 4 points or 6 points even, that'd be brilliant. But I just don't think probably the team is ready for that kind of movement. I think the group could have been worse, to be honest. I think Saudi Arabia enter this as the outsiders, who anybody you're going to be facing is going to be a step up in quality. But Uruguay, they've had experience against Uruguay in 2018. They've run them close before. Spain is the difficult one, and then I think that's the 3 hits. Kind of see how that potentially works out. But Cape Verde gives us a bit of hope within that, and with expansion, which we've already benefited from once. that opportunity to progress as maybe one of those lucky losers in third position is a real opportunity. So as much as the floor is a drab exit and maybe a real devastating exit, given how they've defended through World Cup qualification, who knows what kind of impact Donis's arrival can potentially have on some maybe unlikely faces. So the squad hasn't been announced. It's probably one of the latter squads to be announced. He will probably go with a bit of a change to what was been expected, given that his experience across the league.
This is a question that I had written down, but I forgot to ask. So I'm going to fit it in now. Where do Saudi players come from? Like, are they coming from city areas, rural areas? Like, how are they developed if they're trying to be developed?
I think, like most kind of, I suppose, kind of modern, centralized environments. I think the two key areas are Jeddah in the west and Riyadh in the east. They're predominantly the kind of the populous kind of areas, but I think it's propping up, and that's the whole kind of vision of 2030. That this kind of plan towards all aspects of society to bring it into a more of a Western society. So obviously Saudi Arabia's roots in terms of it wasn't a country. It didn't have the kind of establishment or the population sizes like this as it did 50 years ago. So it's been built kind of outwards from these big centres, and that's where the development has mainly taken place. So Al Dasari, for example, was somebody who was born in Jeddah on the other side of the kind of the country, was pulled into the Al Hilal system within Riyadh in the capital at an early age. So there is systems around it, but the focus of domestic football is usually always funneled towards one of those big four clubs. Once you get to fifth and below, the funding and the support kind of drops off from that respect. That's helped with the Saudi Pro League, but there's still that significant dominance of the top four.
So I've stumbled into a good segue. 8 years from now, when we see the World Cup in 2034, do you think that development will have translated into something that could compete and not embarrass itself as a host nation? Or is it more just kind of the soft power play of the world coming to Saudi Arabia, and however the team does is how the team does?
I think the latter point is probably where we stand now. That's my fear. That we've gone through 2022 with Qatar, and they put a lot of effort in terms of player development and how that kind of progressed. I think 2034, we can already see how that's kind of materializing. So in an Asian context, we're seeing them build slowly but surely in terms of hosting capability. They seem to host every event that's going on at the moment. So they're hosting the under-17s at the moment in Asian football. It was under-23s earlier on this year. It's the Senior Asian Cup in January. But once you start to see those larger stadiums come on and you start to see those infrastructure projects, I think that's where the excitement will come. Unless there's a significant change in terms of transfer policy, bringing in Europeans from that respect, and how that's kind of materialising in the league, which I think is only going to get worse. I think the suggestions about the quotas being increased to allow more overseas players in. I just don't see how that pipeline of talent is going to work. Because at the end of the day, as much as Saudi Arabian football is developing and it is in that kind of stronger position, the only way that we're going to actually kind of see some significant changes is more of a player, or a higher proportion of players going to Europe and actually facilitating it. As I say, there's been opportunities for that, and I think the soft power element allows that opportunity. They can have connections with clubs to get them in. But at the moment, that's a fear really of kind of once we get to 2034, is it that spectacle, or is it going to be an actual football contest where they can actually compete on that level?
So if you want to know who Martin thinks will win the World Cup, we did that in the Qatar interview. So I'm going to ask you, which Asian team do you think is the best positioned to go furthest in this particular tournament, using your expertise of the continent?
I think I probably eventually, as a hopeful one, I still think Japan are the kind of leading light in Asian football. I think the strength and depth is incredible, and they'll need it, given that there's a number of injuries now cropping up. Karol Mitoma has not been selected for the World Cup, and they're carrying a couple of injuries going into that. So I think I really think that they can do something, and I think if it was a shorter competition, so if we were in a kind of a 16-team competition, I could say that they could win this hands down. The worry is that they would have to go through about 6 rounds to get to that final, and they'll probably get found out before that point because there will be a lot of hysteria about it. But I can predict that there'll be a lot of positivity about Japan going that kind of length and breadth of the tournament. Outside of Japan, I'm probably erring on the side of caution. There's a lot of concern around a number of these teams and just generally the format of the World Cup. I think it'll be a historic World Cup probably for Asia by the amount of teams getting to the knockout stages, but the amount of teams getting to the round of 16, where it starts to be comparable to other World Cups, won't be as kind of hot from that respect. So it's going to be interesting. And from somebody who's based himself in Europe, a lot of late nights watching them, fearful kind of how bad Saudi Arabia start to perform against Spain, for example.
Last question. Is there anything I haven't asked about the Saudi national team, Saudi football culture that you find particularly fun or interesting that you think people should know or might want to know?
I think the thing that I'm most interested in is to see the fans and start to change that legacy and that optics of maybe from a European perspective of what Saudi football is. If you watch Saudi football on a regular basis or turn up to just the big matches, really, because I think that's where we see the best and the brightest. The crowd is where the entertainment is. You can see the tifos, you can see the kind of passion and the anger when things are not going right. You have football culture on steroids, and I think that often gets missed. And given that the last 2 World Cups they've been in, obviously Russia, where the exposure was a little bit dampened because of where it was at. The same with Qatar. I think this will be the opportunity to show what Saudi football looks like in the stands. Not that I'm saying that anything on the pitch isn't worth watching, but look towards the stands in the first place.
Do you know what? Okay. I think I lied. I did think of one more question. And it's good that this one's at the end because this one is a little bit dangerous, perhaps. So whenever I watch the American basketball team, for example, the ethnic makeup of the American basketball team does not translate to the people in the crowd or even the country itself. And you would, if you didn't know anything about the United States, but all you did was watch the Olympics, for example, you would think that the nation is like 90% black people. Whenever I watch Saudi Arabia, the ethnic makeup of the team, the people look as if African. Now, I'm curious because I've never been to Saudi Arabia. And then whenever I look in the stands, I don't see the same kind of ethnic makeup on the pitch that exists in the crowd. And I'm wondering, is that a discussion? Is that a talking point there? Like the people in power don't look like the people on the pitch, is basically what I'm saying.
Yes and no. I think going across Asia where there's a lot of representation on the pitch is probably we had the conversation from a Qatari perspective where there's significant amounts of, in effect, nationalized ringers within the team that are Brazilian or kind of from Portugal or anything from that. Saudi Arabia doesn't have that. Everybody is kind of from that kind of route.
Right.
However, it is a diaspora of populations that have kind of settled in Saudi Arabia over that kind of period. And I suppose similar to the kind of adage of American sports, but also we're seeing that in where I am with England, etc. That is potentially disproportionate when you get 11 people on the pitch if they're the best of that kind of aspect. So I would probably say that Saudi Arabia probably isn't the one to kind of pick out from that respect, but the same kind of concerns from that the Bedouin, the kind of more kind of traditional kind of considered demographic, or maybe the established class from Saudi Arabia might not be kind of established purely on the pitch. But I think it's comparative to other nations, even outside of Asia, across the world. I think it's more representative than others.
I had to throw it out there. We'll see if it makes the cut. In any event, Martin, where can people find you?
Yes, of course. So I'll be doing a lot of coverage for the Asian game. We've got a lot of preview podcasts and a lot of coverage throughout the tournament. But you can also follow me on Twitter or X or whatever it's called now, at Plastic Pitch. And it's at the Asian Game for all the content that we'll be providing.
All the links will be in the description. Bro, I thank you for taking the time to do this. Really appreciate it.
No, enjoyed it.
My name is Jessie Losch. Nobody wants to follow me on anything, so don't do that.
Okay. How's this World Cup being anticipated by Uruguay fans is my first question, but more importantly, yourself.
Well, well. Um, for myself, with dread and angst and like a little bit like a sort of mixture of like fear and rage. Rage.
Okay. It's the whole Infantino Trump
Yeah.
combination of things, yes?
Yeah. It's the fear and rage is political and economic and the Trump Fantino of it all. And I mean, just I don't like being angry, and like anger is not my go-to, but I am so mad. And then there's like a sort of purely sports focused of like, sorry, Leeds fans, but I have never liked, I was fine with Bielsa before he was our coach. I've never liked him as our manager. And I like him even less now.
Was it a bit awkward the last time where he was like managing Uruguay and then had to coach against Argentina in the knockout rounds or something like that?
Yeah.
That was a bit weird.
Yeah. And he has tried to like impose Bielsa ball onto Uruguay, which is, I mean, insert your own analogy here, but like square peg, round hole, any of the things. But like even more than that, I think regardless of how we've played on the pitch, there has always been a sense of team over individual. And like that was fostered by Tavares. You know, it was like big group pride and like acknowledgement of each other. And this just feels like 11 men on a pitch. And I think that, like, to me, when Nico de la Cruz came off injured and effing Bielsa was just sitting on his little Gatorade bucket and didn't even get up when his injured player was coming off the pitch to like acknowledge that, I was done. And we won that match, and I was still like, no, we're never going to be friends. I don't like you. I don't like you.
Are you thinking about going to the games, Jessie? Like, have you been tempted to try to get tickets or maybe go with your pops or whatever the case may be?
So, like, to be very honest, I no, because of anxiety. Like we have like the privilege of being white presenting, but my father was not born in this country. He's a thick accent. His name is Jorge, and I do not feel like I would trust myself. I would be fine because like, hello. But I don't feel safe or like good about going. I think I would feel both anxious and complicit. Like, I don't want to give money to this World Cup. I hope all the players and their family have a wonderful time. And I hope everybody like stays safe and healthy. And I also sort of hope that it is at least the United States part is a disaster. Like I really do. I hope they have to learn something from this.
How often have you been made to go like in and around, I guess, Giant Stadium or MetLife or whatever it is?
MetLife, yeah.
And how easy or hard is it to traverse that place?
The last time I was there was last summer when we beat Bolivia 5-0. Thank you very much. My father went and I went. It was very exciting. And like every Uruguayan in the tri-state metro area was there. It was so great. It's like not the most convenient. Like I am a New Yorker and I always think that like if I can't take a train to it, it's like, you know, impossible. But it's, I guess for like, there are shuttles. And for people that drive, like it's, you know, it's drivable, but it's not like Harrison Stadium where Gotham and the Red Bulls play. You can take like the PATH train to it. You can, you know, you could take the subway to the PATH. It's annoying, but it's very doable. This on top of that, even like aside from the fact that they're now charging 97 bajillion extra dollars to like park even, it's like not the most convenient, but I don't know what the alternatives would be in this area.
So let's get into Uruguay then. So what's your assessment of Uruguayan football as it stands? I've been asking people to like put on their doctor's outfits, and is it in a healthy place or is it a not so healthy place? And I mean that both domestically and the ability to export players.
Okay. Well, purely physically, none of our AC, I mean, the majority of our joints are not very healthy. Like you have Araujo, Bentancur, forget our goalkeeping situation. Like everybody is sort of like, it's aside from 3 players, including Valverde, who we'll talk about in a second. Everybody's like Josema, like 60 to 90%, which is not what you want. So there's that. I think Uruguayan football domestically is unchanged from where it's been for the past 10 years, which is to say, like, when we have really promising players, they're pretty immediately sold abroad. But that's the way it's always been. You know, I think like Nacional and Peñarol and the major, like honestly, most of the league is made up of like promising young players who are like, you know, graduated from baby football and returning players coming home to play, or like maybe, you know, considered past their prime for like La Liga or MX, and then get to come home and play for Peñarol and actually like play really well. And like Gargano's still playing. He's my age, I think. Which I thank you makes me feel better about, you know, myself. But, you know, he's playing with his former teammates' kids. But there's something about that, I think, that is very much like in the style of Uruguayan football, of like mentorship, and you always have veterans involved, and it's sort of like cyclical in that way. So like that, I just think is like, it is what it is. And until there's more money, I guess, in Uruguay, like they are going to play somewhere else, because that's been like what it's been.
How did you guys qualify? If I remember correctly, there were wins against Brazil and Argentina.
Fucking teeth. Can I say that?
Yeah. If I remember it, there were wins against Brazil and Argentina, but then also losses to Peru. So I'm confused.
I am confused. We are all confused. Yes, my father was in the stadium for the win against Brazil. I was like, you must go now. You have to go to Uruguay and sit in the stadium in that same seat for every match. Like, this is it. This was like astounding. This was amazing. And then you're going to tell me that we're going to play like shit, and you're also going to call like Night and Nandas, like, what are you doing, Bielsa, against Venezuela? Why are we doing that? Why? Why are you forcing Valverde to play completely out of his, like, why are we No, I don't understand any of it. I don't like it. Bielsa ball can go play anywhere else, but not leave my team alone.
What's the overall disconnect? Because I do have a Bielsa question in general, but maybe we can just talk about him in this box, continuing on from your first answer. What about him specifically just doesn't match with the aesthetic or the idea of what Uruguay sees itself as?
I don't know if it's seeing ourselves as, but like Uruguay, we have never played beautiful football, with the exception of like 2010 when we had Diego Forlan. Like, our football has always been incredibly gritty. It's been garra chirua. You're always like, oh my God, we are 3 minutes away from 9 red cards and disaster at any moment, but somehow we pull it out because it is what we do. It's like the whatever the opposite of tiki taka is. We do not tiki and we do not taka. But again, there's a sense of everybody. It's not zone defense, right? Like, everybody plays everywhere. I'm not comparing it to like Dutch football, but it's like teamwork. You know, you never know where the goals are going to come from. You know, half the time it's like, why is a defender scoring a goal? Why not? Because everybody knows exactly where everybody else is on the pitch. And if it takes 19 passes to kick it up front, so be it. But everybody is going to be involved. Nobody is walking or hanging back. Bielsa does not play like that, right? Like, Bielsa is not one to like incorporate a team style into his style. He is going to flat out impose this sort of like back press, obnoxious, Again, sorry, Leeds fans. Like, you could take him back. It's fine. It worked for you. Great, take him. But it is, I think, really hindered. Like, I really do think that Valverde is like a once in a generation talent. He has not played like that for Uruguay since Bielsa got there. There's no freedom. There's no like allowance for creativity, and nobody's playing with joy. Like, that I think is really the difference, is like, even when we played like shit under Tavares and then under Alfonso even, there was like a pride, a sense of like, you saw the players constantly talking to each other. There's none of that. It's very, I don't know, it feels like a trial to watch us, and I hate that.
Do you know what's their form been since they qualified? And do you know who they're playing in friendlies? Like before,
Yeah,
like to
we've tied. We've tied in all of our friendlies. 0-0.
because
Which
they
is
played England, yeah, they played
yeah,
England and someone else.
yeah, 0-0. We played Uzbekistan. Um,
I'm not sure, but I definitely know they played England and it
we
was a
did. And we
draw.
tied, and it was like fine because no one got hurt and like good.
Yeah.
But again, like even that, and I know Bielsa listens to this podcast, so like I hope he's listening to me. But I don't understand, like, if you're playing a friendly, call in Darwin Nunez, call in Canubio, like have some of these players that have not really been, it's a fucking friendly. Like, give some of the youngsters a chance. And also, can we not see what Nunez has been up to? Because he's been one of our best at the national level, and he like is tucked away in Saudi Arabia. Call him back. No,
Wait, so Darwin isn't in the national team picture at all?
he, I mean, we don't know yet for this. He was not called for the friendly.
Interesting. So
Right?
let's just do the proper noun section of this.
Okay.
So I'm gonna throw some names.
Okay.
Darwin is a notable one. Ugarte, I would say, is a notable
Yep.
one. And Araujo, I would say those are three that
Well,
I
we
would say
two.
from well,
Araujo from Barcelona.
say again.
Araujo from
Yes,
Barcelona.
yes,
Yes.
yes, 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 yes. Those are three names: Nunez, Ugarte, and Araujo. That I would say, if we were to be 4 years ago and we were to project where those four might be
Yeah.
today, the
Yeah.
place or their esteem within world football is they haven't quite hit the heights that people thought they would.
Yeah.
So, are you comfortable with their level? And what hope do you still have that they could turn good?
Um, Araujo, I think, just went through, like, I'm so impressed really that he talked about mental health and the impact that like, and the relationship between like physical health and mental health. I think that we need more conversations about that. And like, he was pretty open about being injured and like racism in Spain and how that, impacted him. I hope that he is getting support and help. And honestly, for him, I just like, he is an unbelievable, spectacular player with like very fragile joints. But I hope that I really just hope that he feels good. Like, I just want him to be happy. And I don't think, like, he plays at Barca. Barca has a bench that's like deeper than the Mariana Trench. Like, I think he's just, they haven't had to use him. So I don't know where he's at right now.
Just more time I see him playing like as an emergency center forward. Like it'll be the
Yeah.
end of games and Barca need a goal, so they'll bring
Yeah.
on Araujo, and then he's playing striker to get crosses rather than actually being a defender.
Yeah.
It's strange.
Which, like, I think naturally from Uruguay, like, most of our players can do that. Like Valverde, who is, I think, one of the top goal scorers, is a defender. So, but yeah, I think with Araujo, they just maybe don't know right now where to fit him into this shape, like Flick's team. Maybe he doesn't fit. Nunez, I'm just very mad at Liverpool because he really wanted to stay and he's so talented and he's such like a golden retriever puppy. And I think he's incredibly talented, but I also, again, with him, like, what we know is that he takes things he's like very emotional. And I think he would benefit from a manager who like nurtured that a little bit or acknowledged that a little bit. Uart is phenomenal and needs to play somewhere else where he gets more minutes. He just like, I don't think anybody's figured that out yet. I think honestly, like a lot of our players, bizarrely, maybe not bizarrely, but who are playing in Brazil have found more of that. Like, I think Diarraqueta is like the perfect example because he was sort of on the fringes for a while, went to Brazil, and is now on fire and plays with this sort of like confidence that is wonderful. Like, it's so great.
I'm sorry. You've just been holding that cup for like 3. Take a drink.
Giant cup of tea. Well, I will. Ready? Everybody take it.
I'm sorry.
This mug of tea represents my feelings about.
No, I like the yellow. I like the yellow. It pops well. I like it.
It's just like your mug is too small. What are you?
It's our podcast cup.
I love that,
So-
but you also need a bigger one.
Those cost more money.
I know, but how many times do you refill your mug?
It's water. So as much as need
okay,
be.
that's fair. That's fine.
As much, my mom said the same thing, but she was like, she drinks so much coffee, it's ridiculous. In any event,
Your mom is great.
sure, yes, of course, yes. I have a statement here, and I want you to make the case for me, whether you believe it or don't believe it.
Okay.
Why is Federico Valverde the best midfielder in the world?
I do believe it.
Well, this should be easy.
But why? I think he's a visionary. Like, he sees space where there shouldn't be space. And he also is incredibly unselfish. You know, he is a creator as well as a goal scorer. I think that is rare. He will also dip all the way back to defense. Like, I'm not a heat map person because I'm not a quantitative person, but like, if you look at his heat map, sometimes his heat map always looks different because he just will go anywhere on the pitch. And he's so fast. Like, he's just so, when he puts like the wings on or whatever, there's just no stopping him. He just finds that space.
Do you know what? This wasn't on my list, but I want to ask it.
Okay.
What changes have you noticed, or do you like the change from Puma to Nike?
Okay. Because I'm annoying. I don't, because for 2 reasons. The sort of, I guess, important to some people reason is like, Puma was my whole childhood, my whole life. All of my kits that I own are Puma.
Because when I was looking at the national team like a few minutes ago or hours ago, I was on the Wikipedia. It had like the kit makers,
Yeah.
and I was like, wait a minute, wait. They've had Puma for like 2 decades, or it's been so long. But then now they're made by Nike, and I'm like, there's no way Jessie won't feel away some way about this.
Yeah. So it's like, I miss the Puma kits because, I mean, literally like my whole life, but also Nike has like such a terrible history of like forced labor, child labor, and labor trafficking. I'm like, guys, really? Puma is probably shit in many other ways as well, but like, we know this about Nike. Like, they are just not good for labor practices, so I don't want to buy one of their kits.
I was thinking, well, Puma, the founder of Puma is the brother of the Adidas guy.
And I never remember which one was the Nazi and which one was not the Nazi.
I think it was both. I'm unsure. I don't know for sure the Adidas one, but now I'm thinking, could you have gotten away with it at that time by not being one? And the answer is probably no. But in any, there's a movie about it. I need to watch the movie.
Yeah.
But I was like, Jessie will have thoughts about this one. So because as a Chelsea fan, we were Adidas for a long time, and then Nike has come and made kits, but they're like always kind of just stale. I don't know how to describe it.
Yeah, they feel like it feels like somebody like asked AI to make a kit, and you're like, where's really? I don't know.
Yes. All right. So the old guard are all but gone. So Godin is gone, Lugano's gone, Forlan is gone, Cavani's gone, Suarez is gone. We thank God. Oh, only Muslera is left.
Yeah.
So how are you gonna feel about? Say again.
Josema Jimenez.
So he's like the OG now. He's like 32, 33, 31, maybe somewhere in there. It's weird. And
he's 35.
Jimenez.
Yeah.
There's no way he's that old.
He's 35. Hold on, I'm gonna find him. I'm gonna put my giant mug of tea down. Wait.
There's no way he's that old. He's got to be at least. He's younger than me. He has to be. There's no way we're the same age.
Hold on.
Because 1990.
He was born in 95. How old does that make him?
5 years young. 30, 31 ish.
No, really?
Yeah, but even he's one of the older players in the team.
Yeah.
So
if you're, he's 31.
Yeah,
he's been playing for so long. I'm like, no, he must be 100. That's so funny.
I just wanted to ask you about the old days. Like, what are you gonna miss about those old guys? Like
everything.
This is just your time to just,
I loved. I mean, they were like my team. Like we, sort of grew up together. I watched them play in the league. Then I watched when Forlan won his Pichichi. I saw them play a bunch of times, and they're just like they. So I think there's like a nostalgia thing, but also for me, they really played with what I consider like our style, like the Aracharua style of like you never give up. You do whatever it takes, but you play as a team. Like Cavani's whole like his thing, I guess, was when Lugano was captain, he would always use the like formal tense to talk to him because that was like what you did. Like that was, and they loved Tavares. Like it was a team. I think this is the first time that we've played with like out a Diego. We've always had at least two Diegos. Whatever becomes.
Can you see the makings of another generation like that within the younger members of the squad, or do you think it's going to take more time in order to develop something like that?
I could, but like I don't. I'm like so shitting on Bielsa, but I don't see it under Bielsa. I don't see this team like coalescing in the same way. Okay. So like I could see it but it would need something. It would need like a spark, something.
So let's talk floor and let's talk ceiling about this particular World Cup. How bad do you think it could be? And in your most optimistic moment for me, please.
Okay.
How good could it be?
It's not going to be good. It's going to be bad.
I even wrote I wrote in parentheses in your most optimistic moment because I'm like, Jessie's it's gonna be a rain.
You know me at this point. No, it's gonna be bad. We're gonna play like shit. Like people are gonna be injured, and people are gonna get red carded, and then we're not gonna have any players left, and then we're gonna get more red cards, and we're gonna lose. We're gonna like go out in the first round. It's gonna be devastating. It's gonna be very bad. Next question.
No, if it goes well, what does it look like? Does it look like a quarterfinal? Does it look like a semifinal? Does it look round of 16 at least?
I can't even imagine a semifinal. I just can't. If we get past the round of 16 without like a major disaster, it'll be fine.
Okay.
Why do we do this to ourselves? This is terrible.
I have one more prognostic question, which is who's your pick to win the World Cup? Or favorites, let's say.
I mean, do I think that they're going to do something so that the U.S. wins the World Cup? Yes, I do. I wouldn't put that past them. I don't know how that would work, but like you saw the group that the U.S. was drawn into. They're going to...
do we pick the United States just to stop them winning? Because I kind of feel like that with England. Just use my bad juju against them.
Ooh, can I do that? Then yes, the United States.
Because I have notorious bad luck. Last question. Is there anything I haven't asked?
The United States too, then. You should pick the United States. Just put it. Come on.
I'm not worried about that one. I am worried about England. Like, they're actually quite good. And I don't know if I'd be able to cope with all of it's coming home and...
First of all, it already came home. The Lionesses fucking won it. So it's home already, guys. Calm down. but like they're not gonna win. They're not gonna win.
I just realized the interview today was also in this group, and I've been anti-England. So, sorry, guys.
Let's say a nice thing about England.
Harry Kane could win a Ballon d'Or,
There you go.
and I wouldn't not mind it. There's a double negative for
Okay.
you. Last question: is there anything I haven't asked about Uruguay, the national team? Something you hate, something you love that you think people should know?
It's an amazing country. It's very tiny. It's very slow. We legalized abortion and pot and trans care more than a decade ago.
Wow.
Come on down. Still have work to do both at the national and the football level, but like it's pretty great.
Cool. I would
That
like to
was
go to
helpful.
Uruguay now that I think about it.
It's great. It's so small and it's just so lovely and it's so slow and like it's just beautiful.
But it's landlocked, yes? Or no, does it have
No.
beach? It has beaches, okay.
Yeah. So it's on both
The lower end of Brazil, and then it's sandwiched between Argentina
Argentina
and yeah.
Yeah. So it's the river in most of it and then the Atlantic. It's a lot of
Gotcha.
it's like beach sort of this way.
Maybe in my brain I just associate the beach with like Argentina and Brazil, and then where you guys are. It just seems
Yeah.
landlocked in my mind. But no.
That's Paraguay. That's the other Guay.
Yes. Anyway, Jessie, where can people follow you if you want to be followed?
Where am I? I'm on Blue Sky and Instagram, I think. Yes.
Okay. I always appreciate and enjoy these conversations. I thank you for taking the time to do
I
this.
love getting to talk to you. Thank you for letting me completely shit all over my country and this World Cup.
We'll just leave it there.